Hello, everyone. We continue our conversation with Rob Reed on the Concord University Athletic Alumni at Work interview series. This is episode number 10 and part 2 with Rob. We dive into his basketball career here at Concord during the 2014-15 and 2015-16 seasons. To hear part 1 with Rob, head over to our website, cumountainlines.com. Rob, if you could talk to me, it had been a long time since you had been a part of any kind of organized team basketball. I mean, sure, once again, the thing at Kellogg, the thing at Lincoln Trail, but even Heroes Camp really wasn't organized basketball where wins and losses are counted on. So how much of an adjustment was it for you to try to get used to the guys you were playing with, like Meach, like Terry Hopewell, like Mike Boyd your junior year, guys like that? How hard was it to get used to playing organized basketball where wins and losses counted?
It was man. It was an experience all the way to the last game. Because when you get there, guys have been there for a while, and you can tell that they know about the program and they know each other. So there's that sense of camaraderie where at junior college, it's a 2-year school, and most of the time, people transfer year to year in junior college. They never play for the same one. So just having that and seeing that, like, these wins really do count. In JUCO, on my teams, coaches stress winning because who wants to go out there just to plan to lose? But it really wasn't as important as it was. When I hear Kent talking about what happened last year at Shepherd, West Liberty, and they're ranked in the country, I'm like, oh, this is real basketball. Okay. I thought I was just gonna come to Concord and just kill everybody, like I did in JUCO or back home. It was an adjustment for sure. Like, things expected of you, like the detail. I had never went over film breakdown or anything like that. So I tell you, at Glenville, my junior year, Glenville was nice. They actually won the conference tournament that year.
Right.
But Coach McBride wanted to beat his friend Caldwell so bad. I'm putting that on the record too. He wanted to beat them so bad, but we went up there, and they were a good team, and we were in the game, and I had gotten hot. So Kent let me ride out a little bit more because I was coming off the bench at this point. And it gets to crunch time in the game, and I swear I could not remember the play. We were supposed to run a play, and I'm just standing in the corner, and Mike Boyd screaming at me to come get the ball. I was like, dude, I don't remember the play. And Kent had to take me out, and then he would start taking me out every game after that. And I was like, I guess I really got to learn the plays. So I was like, all right, this is serious, man. So just watching Aaron Miller have his success that second year, I could tell, like, that was because of the work he put in over the summer to make himself that way. Because he was killing that whole season. He was on fire from the first game. So just watching him, that was an adjustment too, like learning from the teammates and just really being there for your teammates. Like I said, it was not a big sense of loyalty in JUCO. So you get to know these guys and meet their families and stuff like that. And it make it easier, you know what I'm saying, to go to war with them when you share that personal space. So It was a big adjustment because the more you hang around somebody, the more you get to know them. So, and I wish that team could have 4 years again. That was special.
Rob, talk to me here. I actually want to bring up a funny story. Your first game, or maybe your second career game, I was actually talking with Coach May about this the other day. You guys played that little 2-game deal there, a conference challenge at Virginia State against Virginia State and Elizabeth City State, and you get in the game and you almost break the backboard with the shot. So, I mean, I guess the question is how embarrassing was that you almost break the backboard at Virginia State, and in that 2-game stretch you go for 2 points on 1 of 3 shooting against Virginia State, and you go for 2 points against Elizabeth City State on 1 of 5 shooting. So did that kind of make you realize, even with the Glenville game later down the road, that you still had a long way to go?
I thought it was over, man. I thought it was over. I was like, man, has the game changed? Am I really this old now? Do I belong here? It was nuts. Dude, I was so nervous, and I cannot tell you why to this day. I was just so, like, it wasn't, you couldn't just jump back into it and play. It wasn't pick up ball. Like, everything was done with a purpose, and it was just like, man, like, this is next level for me right now. So I was kind of discouraged. I mean, I knew that it would eventually get better for me, but I didn't think I would be back to playing at a real high level. For some reason, it kind of shook my confidence at first. But going back to talking with Ken, I was kind of upset about it. And you scoring 2 points, you're not going to play a lot.
Right.
So I'm asking him, what can I do to play more? So he really didn't talk to anything about the game. He was like, the practice habits are terrible. He was like, you don't practice hard. I was like, practice hard for what? Like, not like for what. I knew it had a purpose, but it was like, I don't know. I feel like the games are always different than practice. And I just didn't take into account of building those habits on the court. Because I was naturally, like, athletic and could score. So I thought that would just get me by like it did in JUCO. And it didn't. I had to have a mind shift. So Concord was, like I said, once again, it was real good for my mental and where I am today.
So, Rob, you're going through your junior year, and it starts out kind of rocky, as you've alluded to. 4 points in your first 2 games combined, and then you score 9 points the next 2 games against Urbana and Bluefield State, and the team's playing well, but you're still trying to figure out your niche here. You scored 22 points. You mentioned against Glenville State you got hot there in the second half, but you had to be pulled from the game because you didn't know the plays. So I guess maybe when did kind of the light bulb come on for you there in your junior season, and when did you realize that that you could be a contributor for the Mountain Lions?
I would say probably right after that game, because obviously I was upset, wanting to be out there and wanting to play, but I knew it was my fault while I didn't. So I kind of went to Ken and asked him why didn't I play? Besides that, because it happened a couple games after that. Once you lose the coach's trust, it's hard for him to put you back in those situations. Like you said, the team was playing well, so the fact that I scored 22 didn't matter, and we lost that game. We could get scoring from everywhere. It was the consistency, everyday practice habits he told me that he was looking for out of me. And like I said before, I kind of thought that was foreign coming from junior college where there's, no expectations. It's just a revolving door of players every single year, and everybody's trying to get to the next level. So just instilling that from a basketball aspect. I think I had it in the everyday life aspect just as a way of survival. Like, you have to adapt. And then all of the challenges I faced young, especially being a young father. So I think it was very keen on the other side, but as far as translating into basketball, it just didn't seem realistic. So it was still part of a transition out of the world that I had come from into the basketball world. So there was definitely layers of stuff that I had to deal with going forward as a basketball player and a student athlete.
Was there things that on the basketball court, the challenges you talk about facing being a young father, were there challenges, that you kind of relate to that went along with parenthood compared to basketball?
For sure. I feel like everybody knows somebody who uses a cliche, or if they heard it or use it themselves, about basketball can tell you a lot about a person's character. So for sure, it's so fast paced, just kind of like how life is. Everybody says time flies and stuff like that. So in the correlation to that, kind of like how you have to just get over stuff really fast, be in that next play mode, being very, very disciplined in your decision making and stuff like that. I felt like at times I could show flashes of it in basketball, but in real life it was quite different, you know. But it was like I don't know, man. It's hard to explain that experience at Concord. It was just transitional for me, man.
Talk to me here. I think maybe kind of what you had to endure as far as trying to figure out where you fit in with Concord during your first year. Maybe kind of relates to the maturation, the process that Aaron Miller went through. He didn't play a whole lot as a freshman. And then he comes out his sophomore year and explodes right from the start there. He ends up getting first team all conference. Was, obviously you're, 5, 6 years older than Aaron, but was he a guy that you kind of went to and asked, hey, what do I have to do to earn Coach McBride's trust to, get on the floor more when it's crunch time?
Actually, no, I didn't. I would ask Kent, and then I would just watch and see what Aaron was doing and what guys who were playing were doing. Because even though we're on the same team, they're also competitors. Like, only so many people can play a certain amount of minutes. So I would never, like if I was struggling in a different way, maybe, yeah. But I knew I had an open door with Coach McBride as far as communication. So I just studied how Aaron played off screens. He picked his spots really well with the catch and shoot. How he used the screens to his advantage. That was the biggest thing, like playing with screens and stuff like that. I'm used to just playing pickup. Mm-hmm. So I seen how simple he just made the game, and then his skill work just came into play. He put himself in positions and then just went crazy that year.
Rob, I kind of wanted to just finish up about your junior year here. You scored the 22 points against Glenville State. That's an overtime loss for Concord. And then 2 games later, you go for 25 points on 9 of 15 shooting against Bluefield. But then things are just kind of, peaks and valleys for you. 8 points, no points, 12 points, 15 points, 9 points, 15, 13, 14. And then you have a rough one against West Virginia Wesleyan at the end of January. You scored just 3 points. But then you kind of figured out here, starting with Notre Dame on the last day of January, it starts a stretch for you where you score at least 14 points in 9 of 11 games. What changed there at the end of January going into the season's final month for you where you kind of got a flow to your game all of a sudden?
I think it was the consistency of having expectations coming back after Christmas break as to where I got to allude back to JUCO. This is all I had to go off of. Guys are ineligible. You might be ineligible or on the brink. Not knowing what the team's going to look like and all of that type of stuff and not knowing what to expect. I think it was knowing I'm coming back to a good place, around good people. I think I just got more comfortable personally because, like I said before, I was thinking about jumping ship. I want to leave. So when I came back after the Christmas break, it kind of got, ingrained into my everyday. Like, this is what it is. This is my life. This is how I got to handle stuff. And I think basketball just started to take care of itself.
Rob, I would be remiss if we didn't touch on your junior year game on Valentine's Day 2015. My goodness, you lit it up, my man. 10 of 16 from three-point range, 12 of 20 overall. You scored 40 points. Take me inside that game, and when did you kind of realize that could be a special game for you?
Okay, so this is a vivid memory, of course. Shout out Cam Shannon. We were coming out right at the finish of the girls' game to warm up, and West Virginia was standing across the gym, and I just told Cam, I was like, I'm about to kill these dudes. And Cam was like, only as Cam can. Okay, then, go crazy. So, all in warm-ups, Cam whispered to me, Rob said he finna kill these dudes. So, I had just had my first 30-point game a week ago. That
Right.
was the first time I ever scored 30.
Right, against Wheeling, right?
So, was feeling good, and I just came out early and let it fly, and I hit like my first 4 3-pointers. And then second half, I just feel like I'm shooting it every time I touch it.
A shooter shoot, right?
I guess so.
Yeah, you scored 40 points, as I mentioned, 10 of 16 from 3-point range in that game. That tied a single-game Concord record for most 3-pointers in a single game. And Rob, you finished that year averaging 13.8 points per game. You shoot right at 42% from 3-point range, just a little bit above 45% from the field overall. What was your biggest takeaway from your first season at Concord? Like, what is something that you realized that a positive and maybe something to also build on at the same time?
From a basketball aspect or just overall?
Just overall.
Man, that first year, that was it was kind of like a foundational year. Of course, because it's the first time in a new place. But really, it was just like recreating myself as a person also. So it was just like putting a lot of new stuff into my everyday life to try to get accustomed to have stuff to look forward to after basketball and after Concord and even like for the rest of my life. So it was just like, man, you put the work in, like you will get rewarded. Like, and you got to go through some tough stuff, you know what I'm saying, to get to the other side, which I had already knew. But this is a whole new element. This is like everyday real life stuff. I mean, the other stuff is real life too. Don't get me wrong. But it's like the stuff that's going to push you forward in your life and give you, you know what I'm saying, a chance to achieve whatever you want to.
Mm-hmm. Rob, talk to me here. Obviously, the year before you got here, Concord had struggled. Single-digit wins. They were 11th place in the conference. You guys go from 11th to 3rd place, unfortunately losing there to Wheeling in the MEC quarterfinals. But what was the team chemistry like for that year? I mean, it was a loose bunch of guys. Obviously, you yourself is kind of a jokester. You got people like Taylor Smith that has never had a serious moment in their life. And then, obviously, Mike and Paul are the leaders of that team. So what was the locker room like that year?
It was good. I think that's the year that started the culture that's even there now, with Coach May. It was business. You know what I mean? We were there to work. We were there to really do something with basketball. And every day there was no like week practices or days off and stuff like that. Mike Boyd did a really good job leading the team his senior year. So did Paul Bird. Bird was one of those guys who just played well and didn't have to say much. So you kind of follow his lead there. Mike was a little more vocal, which he was a senior. And, man, it was a really good atmosphere. Like I said, I got close with everybody there, and that made me a lot more comfortable for sure. Because, like you said, these guys are young. I'm 25 already, 25-year-old father, and you got guys like Nick Deems, fresh out of high school at 18, Cal Sestaro also. And then we all just come from totally different worlds, man. We just meshed. Like, it was legit, like a brotherhood for those 2 years that I was there. It was nice, man. It was something special. It was something you don't get to be around every day.
Now, obviously, your story and your, I guess, kind of revival with Coach McBride about your class situation, skipping class, not wanting to take academics seriously. I think that's been well documented. But Rob, if you could, I mean, and this can be a serious story or this can be a funny story, but give us something or maybe a couple of things that maybe people don't know about that 2014-15 Concord basketball team.
As far as
I mean, it can be on the court. It can be something completely off the court.
I don't know. Now, like I said, that team, we were really close. Went to battle together. I mean, when I say this stuff, this isn't cliche. This is like legit. Like everybody had everybody's back.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and there's bumping heads and stuff like that. But that's just normal of a team. We around each other every day. I'm not gonna like you every single day, but every single person just had a role, personally, athletically, spiritually, everything. We just where one of us was weak, the other one was strong. You know what I'm saying? Like, it was legit. It was special. It made me love West Virginia to this day.
So the buzzer sounds on that Wheeling Jesuit game that you guys lose by 3 in the MEC quarterfinals in 2015. All of a sudden, Paul and Mike, their time is done at Concord, and now you, Meach, Terry, and Taylor are the leaders of this team. And I'm sure that Meach would tell you that he worked that off season on becoming a better three-point shooter because that was kind of his weakness. So, Rob, what did you have to work on during that off season to become a more complete player heading into your senior season?
I worked on a lot of, first worked on my approach, of course, because you have to approach the season. Like, soon as that buzzer sounded, I think we were back right after spring break.
Mm-hmm.
About to have our first open gym. Meach comes in drenched in sweat. I'm like, bro, where you been at? He was like, oh, I was on the track. I just ran 2 miles. I was like, oh, he's thinking next level. I said, it's time to get in gear for next season right now. And that's when it just clicked. So I even started working out in the mornings before we left for summer break. Get in there, get up shots. I knew I would have to be a better ball handler. So when I went home that summer, I really focused hard on becoming a better ball handler in situations that I knew that we would be in the game. And I just wanted to become a more consistent shooter because I know I can get hot as a streaky shooter, but I wanted to be just a knockdown shooter because I knew we were losing a lot. I didn't know what the point guard situation would be. We had Tommy Bolte as a freshman, and we had Kamal Shasi, who was transferring from JUCO. So 2 guys who didn't play in the system last year. And then it was going to be a little different with Mike and Paul going. So I knew I would just have to play a bigger role, and I wanted to score more. I mean, nobody's going to sit up here and say they didn't. But I wanted to be in that position to where Coach could trust me to be used more as a scorer and an anchor for our team.
Now, Rob, I remember this tour. I remember this very well. I was walking through the bottom of the Carter Center. This is like, I don't know, maybe the last week of August, first week of September, and you guys are playing an open gym, and you was down in the training room, and I'm thinking to myself, why is Rob Reed in the training room? This could not be good that he should be in the training room in August or September. Like I said, I can't remember exactly what the date was on that, but you guys got it figured out there early, right from the jump of your senior season. What was the mentality of that team? I mean, really, I guess from the time you guys arrived on campus from summer break in August up through the first game there against Winston-Salem State your senior year.
It started with me and Meach. Like I said, Meach came off that track. I felt like I got one up on me. So we went hard all summer, challenging each other, posting workouts. We knew that Terry wasn't a vocal leader. Terry was going to be Terry. He was going to be great. And we knew we could count on Taylor to keep the locker room together. I mean, I can't talk about Taylor without laughing. But so me and Meach challenged each other. So not only that, I feel like everybody came back more focused. Even Terry, without saying much, he definitely did. Everybody was bought in. We felt like we should have won conference tournament that first year. That was a really close game. We lost to Wheeling.
Mm-hmm.
I had missed a couple of free throws down the stretch, but I still think about that. But yeah, we knew we would have to step it up. So me and Meach came back to the elite camp that summer also. And I could tell he had been working, and he can tell I've been working. I could tell they got Coach McBride fired up. So I was like, yeah, we're going to do something special this year. So just kept putting in the work. And when we got there, everything was a competition. The weight room, max out day, drills, who could put up the most shots. Like, everybody was putting in work. So I think it really showed when it was time to get out there and play.
Yeah, you guys start that year. You win your first, let me count it up here real quick.
7.
Yeah, 7 games. That's what I was thinking. I was trying to do the math here real quick. You start the year 20 points against Winston-Salem State, 22 against Livingstone, and then as only Rob Reed does, he absolutely owns West Virginia State. In 35 minutes at West Virginia State, you score 36 points, another just outburst, 9 of 16 shooting, 8 of 11 from three-point range. It just keeps on going. 25 points against Charleston. You hit that buzzer beater, Rob, and I think that's I mean obviously you'd had some breakout games your junior year with the 40-point game against West Virginia State, 31 against Wheeling Jesuit, just a couple of notable ones. But I think that's where the legend of Rob Reed is born. 25 points against Charleston. You hit a buzzer beater. Take me inside the last, about 30 seconds of that game if you could.
Last 30. I think Charleston had the ball at the last 30. We had just tied it up.
Right. Correct.
We were down 10 with about...
That's right. I'd forgotten about that. That's right. You guys were down a bunch. That's right.
I think with about 4 or 3 minutes left.
Mm-hmm.
It was a very short time.
Mm-hmm.
And we got stop after stop. And I think everybody scored on that run. All 5 of the starters. And we came down. Charleston called a timeout after we tied it up. They get the ball, and they're running the clock out to run a play. And I want to say there's like a 4-second difference. Or no. I'm sorry, maybe like 12 second. Whatever the case is. We get a stop, and I make sure I go get the rebound. And I look at Coach McBride, he's not calling a timeout. So I'm just like, man, I got to get a good shot off. Like, I want to end this game too. I had never hit a game winner either. So, and I just got space on Tino. Just stepped back and shot it, and it went straight through the net, and I went crazy. But in that moment, it made me feel good that Coach McBride didn't call a timeout, because a year ago he would have. So it was like that made me comfortable. That gave me a lot of confidence knowing that my work was showing on the court. So, yeah, that was man, that felt good. That was my first game winner. That was crazy.
Yeah, I remember you about came over and tackled me at the scores table. I remember that. I remember that very well. But let's keep churning it along here. 18 points in a win against Bluefield State. You and Aaron go absolutely crazy against Johnson C. Smith. You have 32, and I think Aaron had it was like 26, 28, somewhere in that neighborhood.
Yeah, 30.
30, okay. Yeah, so you guys go crazy against Johnson C. Smith. You guys combined for 62 in a big win. In a game played at Bluefield State. 23 more against Glenville State. Wesleyan in that system limits you to 18 points in 51 minutes in a game that went triple overtime, I guess it was. And then you guys kind of hit a little bit of a skid here, starting with that Wesleyan game. Yes, you guys beat D&E on the road. You scored 22 points, but then a 3-game losing streak against Bluefield State, Shepherd, and Fairmont, and I know that there were some turbulent times within the program. What was the message there to try to right everything to get back on the winning track there in the second week of January?
Man, that was not fun. That was our first time really with our backs against the wall. Had to do a little soul searching for sure, because we knew we weren't going to win every game, but we knew that we could win every game. So to lose 3 in a row, we just had to come together closer, and we all individually had to find that next level to get through mentally, because we got to lock in, man. It's a long, long ride, but playing that way can end your season earlier than the last game, for sure. So I think because our core was back from the year before, we had a come to Jesus meeting with Kent at Willing the year before, and it was, man, it was real, to say the least. I'm gonna keep that between me and my brothers. But so it was one of those moments, but Kent didn't have to write it out for us. We all just, you know what I mean? I think it was an ego check time too, especially for myself. I had got benched for 2 games because of an incident when we played Shepherd. I was frustrated we lost. Coach was frustrated we lost, and we couldn't agree. And I feel like as a player, I was being a little selfish as far as my decision, the way I handled certain situations with my attitude. But I knew my brothers had my back, so I just took the time to, get my head right. And I feel like as a leader of the team, it's obviously the oldest person on the team. A lot of guys were looking up to me for more than just basketball. So we had to get it together quick and rock and roll, and I think that's what we did.
Yeah, you guys go on a stretch there after losing those 3 straight games. You personally don't have the best game against Notre Dame College, but the team gets a 2-point win, a couple of nice defensive plays by Cam Shannon down the stretch against Notre Dame to get the win. And then, Rob, you take off here, in 4 of your next 5 games, you score at least 26 points, including 36 against West Liberty. And I'm really interested to hear this part of it. It felt like the night that you guys beat West Lib. I remember coming into the Carter Center about 3:30, 4 o'clock that day. It was Martin Luther King Day, so it was a holiday. It was a holiday, and I remember coming into the Carter Center thinking, Concord is going to win this game tonight. There was just something about the feeling walking into the gym that night that you guys were going to get the job done. Number 1 West Liberty is in Concord's building. What was the preparation like? Your guys' shoot around and then leading into the opening tip-off of that game.
That was a Monday night.
It was indeed.
January 17th.
Mm-hmm.
We had just lost to Willing in overtime Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
And we should have won. Like, it was bad, the mistakes that we made. So right after that game, it was, man, another one of those moments. But it was like hot and heavy on both sides, coaches and the players. Like, we were all angry that we lost. And man, we just came in and we just had real talk the next day. We did film breakdown, and you know what I mean? We did as family do. We just talked it out, put everything out there, and we went to work. Like the anger was the motivation for us going into that game. And last year we felt like we were one of the better teams. And I remember when we were at West Liberty, they kind of they blew us out up there.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong.
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't like the way they went about it, and none of us did. Let me say that. So we kind of had it out for them anyway. So man, we just prepared. We went hard. We went really hard, as hard as you can go in 2 days of preparation. And there was no messing around. We usually the goofiest bunch of dudes. We didn't talk about nothing funny. Everybody was, you know what I'm saying, locked in and ready to go. And man, if you say you can feel it, we definitely we knew we wasn't losing that night.
Yeah, I mean, like it was right from the jump too. I mean, you guys withstood a couple of West Liberty runs, but I remember that even Coach McBride was able to take you guys out there with I think about a minute left to go to a standing ovation. And Rob, before we go any further here and kind of talk about the tournament run of 2016, what was it like on a nightly basis playing in the Carter Center in front of a crowd that was usually pretty raucous?
Home court advantage is real, so playing at home definitely was nice. I don't know. I just felt like only we could beat ourselves at home, because it was like we did have a home court advantage. I can't say what played attribute to that, but we did have a home court advantage. And I don't know, I just loved playing in the Carter Center. I feel like other people were looking down on it as it wasn't one of the nicer gyms and stuff like that. But it was some dogs in there. Like, he wasn't just about to come in there and get a win. He was about to come in there and roll us over. Might come in there and lose.
All right, Rob, let's talk about this Mountain East Conference tournament, and kind of as a pre-question before the tournament, you score your 1,000th point on February 27th. You score 32 points in 32 minutes against UVA Wise. How much did that game kind of help you guys get comfortable, kind of launch yourself into the tournament run?
I'm going to backtrack one more time on you.
Sure.
We had just got blown out at the Civic Center by Charleston.
Yep.
Who we beat earlier in the year. We got beat by like 30 points.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it was bad. Like I said, we had to go in the locker room, man, and I was just thinking the whole time after the game while we lost, I was like, we come back here in a week. I was like, that's what we need to really focus on in my head. And we went back to the campus and we talked it over as a team, as players. And Kent came in already with the same thing in mind. So we just went to work. Not saying that we were overlooking them for that game in preparation to it. They were one of the bottom teams, but we knew every night in the MEC you had to compete. But it was really like a preparation game for the tournament because we really had to find our identity going into this. We already had an identity, but I'm saying we had to find our identity going into the tournament as to how we were going to be winners, not just how we were going to play the game or try to win this game. We knew we had to get the job done. It was time to lock in because that was one of our biggest goals. Obviously, we wanted to win conference outright. We finished third the year before, so why not aspire to reach that? We fell short, but we never gave up. So after we lost to Charleston, like I said, the dogs came out. Practices were crazy. Films were crazy. Everything was intense. Everything.
All right, Rob, so you start the MEC tournament, or Concord does, I should say, with Charleston in the 4-5 game. Friday night at the Civic Center, you absolutely light the place on fire. 6 of 6 from three-point range. You actually were only 2 of 8 from two-point range that night, but Concord gets a pretty comfortable win, a double-digit win over Charleston. At what point did you guys realize, I mean, I'm sure it was talked about in the locker room, but was there a point maybe leading into that West Liberty game of the MEC tournament that you guys could do something special here?
We didn't come down there to lose. Like, I know everybody says that. You know what I'm saying? It's win or go home. But seriously, we didn't come down there to lose. Like, Taylor Smith was, like, believe it or not, he was serious. Like,
and that's rare for him, right?
Yeah, I'm just trying to put into words. Like, man, it was still that business, that no talking about. We were just like, man, we down here to do some work. And we just got locked in. Nobody was leaving their hotel rooms. We wasn't texting in the group. We had an itinerary with coach, and we stuck to it to a T. Like, it was just strictly business. And I feel like from the outset, we knew that we were just going to run through everybody. Not saying that, you know what I'm saying? Like, again, not saying that we were cocky or anything, but, man, it was just a feeling like when we were all on the same page, we knew we couldn't be beat.
All right, Rob, let's talk about your legendary game against West Liberty. Double overtime game, back and forth. You guys were, I believe, trailing in that game late as well in regulation, came back, or maybe West Liberty was trailing. Whatever. It felt like someone really had control of that game late. It gets down to the nitty-gritty at the end of regulation. And actually, let me stop. Confession time. So I was sitting at the scores table opposite the Concord bench,
Yup, on the right. I seen you by Coach Cox.
And so I get up from my seat. I go down on the baselines. Like, I want to get a good video of this buzzer beater at the end of regulation. Doesn't happen. And at the end of the first overtime, get up, do the same thing, go to the baseline. And you guys had a shot, and then actually West Liberty had a shot at the end of the first overtime. You guys went a little bit too quick there.
We should have lost right there.
That's very true. And then at the end of double overtime, of course, you make the shot, and I forgot to switch my phone to video mode on my camera, and ended up taking a picture of my feet. That's exactly what happened. But luckily, that shot was heard, basically around the world, or at least around the state of West Virginia that night. So Rob, take me inside that final play of double overtime, where you get the ball from Sanchez, go down the left baseline, down the left sideline. You get in just a mess, and you end up throwing up that circus shot. What was that whole, about 10 seconds like right there?
Hold on, man. Hold on. You got the best angles of anybody. You do the best highlights, and no wonder I can't find a replay, you know what I'm saying, that's good. How did you miss that, Wes? Your shoes, man.
I got caught. I think I still got it on my camera reel to this day that I took a shot. But luckily, my man Cole Clunan, he was sitting about 6 rows deep behind the basket and got a perfect angle on it. Luckily,
shout out Cole,
luckily.
Man. He did that nice video for us too.
Yeah, that's right.
But yeah, man, like that shot. Okay. We're going to the huddle. Kamal meets me on the floor before Coach McBride. And I can't say exactly what he said, but by the time I got over to Coach McBride, I was already shaking my head, yeah. And Kamal was like looking at me like, all right, like, come on, man. So we go into the huddle, and it's like, man, I'm looking around like, man, this is a war. Like, everybody's like tired, but nobody's giving up. And then Coach McBride asked me, he was like, you want the last shot? I was like, yeah. But I only said it with that much confidence because Kamal was sitting there making me take the shot. But I wanted it anyway. But Kamal was hilarious for that moment. So we go out there. I can't remember the name of the play, but I'm setting a back screen for Steven, for Two-Tone.
Right.
And he's coming off, so I can just pop out on the wing and get an isolation. So I'm thinking in my head, I'm like, how am I going to get this shot off? I just need to get a good shot off for myself. All season, it was a left-hand step back. So I give David Dennis a couple hesitations. He's not going for him. So I'm like, I'm going to have to shoot a mid-range. I want to shoot a 3. So I try to get around him, and he sticks his knee out, and the ref's not calling it. As I'm going in the ground, I don't hear a whistle, and I know he's not calling it. So the ball is loose, and in the back of my head, I'm like, my feet are by the baseline. So I pick my knees up. I bend my legs up so that my feet don't touch out of bounds. And I grab the ball, and I see Bonifant's shoes coming towards me at the same time. I don't know how much time is left. I just sweep through, and I'm like, I got to get a shot off. And I seen I had an angle. I was like, only way I can make it is bank it. So it ended up being a one-handed shot because I was leaning from the sweep through. And when I shot it, it banked in, and I couldn't believe it. Like, for real. I knew you know what I'm saying, you shot it to make it. Mm-hmm. But when it went in, I was like, oh, my God, are you serious? Like, and I just turned around to talk to the West Lib fans. I jumped in there, but I was like, no, don't do that. And I turned around, and Bonifant's got the ball. And I'm like, dang, this man always finding a way to get a shot up. I'm like, it's about to go in. He missed it, and man, it was crazy. We went crazy. That was a nuts moment.
Rob, was it one of those deals where, as an athlete, like you can hear the crowd and you can hear people saying stuff, but like you're completely tone deaf to it all?
While I was shooting that shot, yeah, it was get a shot off. And then after it went in, like I said, I couldn't believe it, but then I heard everybody screaming. I was like, it really went in. Like, it was nuts, man.
All right, so let's talk about this MEC championship game. Notre Dame has to play Wheeling after you guys, and I don't want to say that they had an easier time, but the game didn't go double overtime for them against Wheeling. I think they end up winning fairly comfortably by 3 or 4 possessions in that game. What was the morning of the championship game like? What was the shoot around like? Because obviously you guys are just physically, I'm sure you guys are just gassed from that West Liberty game. What was it like the morning of the championship game?
Same attitude, business as usual. We knew Notre Dame wasn't. We knew they were a favorable matchup if we got them, but we knew that we wasn't just gonna walk to the championship. Like, that conference was tough that year, and I want to say we were only like 4 games ahead of them, or something like that in the standings. So yeah, we knew we just had to get the job done. But when we got to the game, it was a lot different feel. So we adjusted on the fly.
Robin, now you and Aaron struggled to shoot the ball in that game against Notre Dame, especially in the first half. What was the message at halftime? Because obviously you guys were leaning on Terry and Meach a lot in that game. So what was the message like at halftime? Because I think you guys were down like 5 or 6 points at halftime.
I got a confession to make.
Uh-oh, here we go.
I go to we walk off the floor. We down 3, I think.
Okay.
We're down 13. So it's a real gritty, like, different style of game. Like, they in this crazy zone with the big guys up top, not letting me and Aaron get a shot, like even get a look at a shot. So I was frustrated. So we walking back to the locker room and I'm screaming about, like, I need the ball, like this and that. I'm going crazy. I think I was kind of panicking too because I didn't want to lose. So Meech's like, hey bro, we're not freezing you out, man. He was like,
who is this again?
Meech.
Okay.
He was like, bro, they're not letting you shoot the ball, like, at all. So I was like, all right, bet. So Coach McBride came in, and then he was like, we got to play through Meech and Terry. So I was like, cool, I'm going to pass it to Meech and Terry every time because one of those times I'm going to get a shot off. So pass it to Meech and Terry, and they just killed it, like, went to work. I got loose for 2 threes, and they dropped for me. I hit 2 threes in a row. Aaron got loose for some jump shots. I can't remember what Aaron had, but he had a pretty solid game in that game. Sanchez was killing. That was a real good game. That spoke a lot to our identity. We just went out there and got the job done that night. But Meech and Terry really, really, like, they just dominated for us. But they had all season. It was just kind of overshadowed. Me and Aaron shot the ball every time, it seemed like. But Meech and Terry was just such a big part of what we did that when the message was delivered that we needed to play through them, like, there was no hesitation because they knew how to win.
Rob, when you get your hands on the Mountain East Conference trophy and maybe even the MVP trophy, after the game with the Commissioner Reed Amos, you guys win 70-64 over Notre Dame. What a long, twisty, winding path that you travel. I'm sure that you felt like you had so many people running through your mind, so many thoughts running through your mind when you touched that MVP trophy from your upbringing coming from a single mother who was incarcerated a couple of times to being a father when you're barely out of your teen years, and this twisty road that it took you 3 years to basically make it to Concord. What was the emotion like for Rob Reed when you finally put your hands on that Mountain East Conference trophy?
Definitely felt accomplished. But I'm such a weird person, man. Like, right after we won, I just sat back and watched how everybody else was reacting to it. I wanted a lot of other people to be happy about it because it was like I was happy about it too, But like I said, Concord was just so transformational for me that I knew that moment was the key to other stuff down the road for me. Like I just felt like I was going to get used to that feeling, and I was just really relaxed and happy to be there, but also looking forward, man. And it made me a lot more hopeful for the future because that was physical work that we put in. You know what I mean? A lot of times you don't have decisions. You can't make the decision if a guy on the other side gets hot against you and drops you for 30 and you get put out of the tournament and lose. So for us to come together on that level, I know it was because we had the spiritual and soul connection with everybody on the team. Like we were just 100% transparent with each other. I feel like that was a big thing for me. And after I touched the trophy, man, it was like, dang, like seriously, I'm just now able to reflect on it. So like I said, I knew it would take me down the road for years. It's been about 5 years since that happened. And man, I just look back on it like in a new way now, because I didn't even know. Once you're in the moment, you don't really you know that you're making decisions for the future, but you don't know what it's going to look like. And right now, I'm really, really happy that I made a decision to come to Concord and go through everything I went through while I was there.
Let me go back and talk about your guy Brian Foster here for just a minute. You become the first all-region player for Concord since Tyrone Anderson, a guy that has a connection to Brian Foster. Tyrone originally from Indianapolis, not too far from where you grew up in South Bend there. So how happy were how happy were you for Brian that he got you going down this path after you averaged 21.5 points per game as a senior? You shoot 41% from three-point range and 43% from the field overall. What was those calls, that communication like with Brian there after your senior year was up and you start getting all these awards and you're kind of maybe being compared to Tyrone a little bit because you guys are all region players, albeit like 8 or 9 years apart from each other in terms of at least playing for Concord?
The whole time communication with B Foss was good. Like he was genuinely happy for me. Like he had approached me in the in-between time between the first contact with McBride until getting to Concord. He was like, man, he's like, you need to go back to school, bro. Like, he's like, you cold, you killing. Like, he always gave me compliments on my game and told me what I needed to do as far as getting back in school, and always kept that door open with Kent. So for that, as I was going through Concord, he was always like, man, I see you doing your thing. Like, for real, like, was always hitting me up, congratulating me. I think he was happy for not only me, but for Kent and for, his school that he played for. Mm-hmm. I really do appreciate him opening that door. Yeah, a lot of people probably don't know that though, but Brian Foster is the only reason that I went to Concord and had an offer to go to school because I was off the grid for 2 years. You can't just jump back into a program like that. And then for the level of basketball that was being played at Concord, that was definitely a blessing. I just didn't go to any school. That was a great, that was the best conference in college basketball for 2 years.
Yeah, without a doubt. You're absolutely right there. Just, like your senior year, 3 of the top 5 teams nationally was Fairmont, West Liberty, and Wheeling. I'm sorry, I think maybe it was the year after. I can't remember. No, it was that year. It was actually that year. That yeah.
West Liberty and Wheeling both were 1. Fairmont was between 2 and 5.
That's right.
It was crazy.
So you finish your career at Concord, and you're still ranked number 3 in three-point percentage, 41.5%, 187 threes out of 451 attempts. That puts you 9th in terms of all-time makes at Concord. And then for a single season, Rob, your total made threes during your senior year, 119 of those rank 3rd in Concord history. I know that playing overseas is kind of a weird deal. Like, obviously you have to have an agent and they have to have contacts with certain teams in Europe or South America, Asia, wherever it might be. So kind of walk me through the process of you getting the opportunity to play overseas and then making that career there for a handful of years?
So, like I mentioned before, my brother, Cedric Moody, who I said was the mentor to me and taught me a lot about the game. And he played in Argentina for part of his career. And when he was there, I mean, he was a legend there. I remember this before Facebook was really popping and YouTube and stuff. He had videos on there though, so I knew he was down there just destroying dudes. So he had told me, like, use your eligibility. So I listened to him. I trained with him all summer. That 2015 summer, we had a plan to go 5 days a week, sometimes 4. For the better part of the summer, we trained every single day in the gym. Whether it was just Sunday pickup ball, just to work on reps of what we practiced during the week, from running sand dunes to running hills to, man, like countless hours of work. And I was working 40 hours a week. So when he seen me putting that type of grind in, and then I come home from Concord and I'm just straight to it. I don't take a day off between leaving campus to getting in the gym with him. He had a connection down there, and when he seen how well I was playing at Concord, he had reached out to him, and they reached out to me then just to let me know they were watching me. So when I finished up, was trying to get into the market and get seen, and I didn't hear from him right away. And I'm actually playing at a combine for what is it was the NBL of Canada, National Basketball League of Canada.
Okay.
The guy that runs Heroes Camp, Pat Magley, his brother is the commissioner of the league, so he has a combine in South Bend for guys. And it was so weird how it happened. The high school they were practicing at, the AC unit went out, so the gym got like super perspirations, dudes sweating and slipping everywhere. So Pat lets us move it to Heroes Camp, and as we're leaving the gym, the guy texts me back like, "Hey, I got a job for you. Send you the contract tomorrow." I'm like, "Are you serious?" Because I had said I was going to Bulgaria at first. I had already signed a contract, but I was still searching for something better. And then this guy comes along, like a really great deal for me. So signed that deal in about July, and then September 11th, out of all days, I'm flying on a plane over to Argentina. And man, it was like a unique experience. Like, I'm getting to reflect on that now after being out of the game for 2 years. It was very good, especially for my mental. Once again, you just had to adapt. Like, I didn't speak Spanish at all, so I had to recognize the language, be able to pick up on certain keywords. So before I left there, I was able to order food, have somewhat of a conversation with people, go to places myself and be able to exchange my monies, go get my laundry done. But man, it was definitely an experience of a lifetime. Beautiful city, very, very, very different culture, and just being able to adapt to it from the skills that I acquired from going through different stuff and being at Concord and meeting different people. It just allowed me to really have a good experience while I was over there.
What's the biggest difference? And obviously, the college game is so much different from the junior college game or the high school game. You play in the premier conference for Division II during your junior and senior year in the Mountain East. But what was one thing that you picked up on right away, Rob, that was so much different professionally in Argentina?
Just, man, business. That's the only way you can say it. It's like, it's business now. It's not about how well you're liked, any of those other factors outside of your performance. So you really have to dedicate yourself to your craft, and staying healthy is a challenge, because there's always an American they can bring in at your position. So it was just like, man, you have to stay committed to the grind every day. And over there, I'm 5,000 miles from home, so there's no going home. So I'm just all in with my diet, with my sleep, with my everything, my stuff I do before the games. Because when I first got there, after 6 games, I had torn my quad and I had to rehab. That was the first time I had ever had an injury.
I don't think I knew that. Yeah, I don't think I knew that.
Nope, I was supposed to be out 45 days. I was only out about 18 days. I did real strict rehab. And I did a lot of fasting and prayer while I was doing that.
Mm-hmm.
And I really do. I know for sure that's what sped up the process. Because my doctor was like, you need to eat more. You need to eat more. I was like, no, man. I was like, I'm trying to get my leg healed for real. And then when I came back early, my coach called me Magic Man. So, yeah, doing that. And the only reason they kept me there, because it's such a business, that there's guidelines to how you get hurt and what can happen when you get hurt. So with my injury being diagnosed at 45 days, they had the right to cut my contract, which wasn't guaranteed,
right,
to send me home to be able to get another player so that they were under FIBA guidelines. I was like, man. But they came to me and was like, we like you. We like the work you've done, and you're a very good person. We're going to keep you here and let our doctors rehab you, and you'll be back with the team in no time. I was like, man. I was like, I'm just grateful, you know what I mean, that I had a good attitude and that they can sense that I was a good person to be able to let me stay, because there was times I played teams for the second and third time and they already had like 2 or 3 different Americans on the team. I was like, man, this is crazy.
Mm-hmm. Rob, let me ask you about this. You played professionally, like I said, it was 3 years, right? You played professionally?
About 2.5.
2.5. So you get done playing professionally. When did it become apparent to you, and how important was it for you to come back and finish your degree here at Concord?
That was always the plan. I was like, whenever I'm done playing, I'm getting my degree. I thought it would be 10 years, not 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
But I made the decision to come home because, man, I had gone through all this transition. So from 2014 to 2018, I was just always away from my kids. Even though I was there with them, they were in a much better situation with me and my wife. It was just like, man, they're getting older and they need me. Like, I got my chance to go do what I needed to do. I played basketball again. I even got to go pro with it. Like, I got everything I wanted in a short amount of time.
Mm-hmm.
I was just like, man, it's taking too much away from my kids' development. Like, I know they're in good hands, but they need their dad around. So after I decided, and let me see, this was August, I actually had an offer. I was working out at Pat Magley's house, the guy who runs Heroes Camp.
Mm-hmm.
And my agent had texted me I could go to Bolivia for a month for the playoff stint. And it was a really good deal. And I was just, I was like, man, nah. I was like, something to come along, man. It's time to put it down. I really didn't want to. I was in like the best shape of my life. So yeah, I did that, and as soon as I did that, what was that? I said August. I think the deadline to enroll for online classes was maybe October. I can't remember, but I was in classes that semester.
Right. All right, Rob. Just a couple more things here. This has been fantastic. How often do you still talk to Terry, to Meach, to Taylor, to Tommy? Obviously, Terry's overseas doing his thing in Spain. Tommy is in Portugal playing professionally. I mean, guys like Cam, I guess.
Boy, Tommy get buckets.
How often do you talk to those guys?
I hit Tommy here and there, just because I think it's neat to see him doing what I wanted to do for a longer time. I think he'll be playing for a long time too. Let me see. It's been a while since I talked to Terry. I talk to Terry now and then, but we all stay connected. We have a group message. So yeah, man, it's neat seeing guys like Terry and Tommy be able to still play the game and still having a connection with Meach and Babe Murphy and other guys from that team, man. It's all love every time we talk.
And then finally, Rob, here, you've been through so much in your life, in your basketball career, as you now become a father, or as you are a father now of 5 kids. What's one thing that you have learned through basketball, through life, that you are absolutely instilling in them, or when they get old enough to understand, that you want to drill to them that, hey, this is how you get through life?
Next play mode. And I literally use that phrase with him because my daughter, my oldest daughter, Lanaya, she does not like basketball. But whenever we outside shooting, she has to be out there. So I definitely instill next play mode from basketball to them. I still deal with it myself. I'm really my biggest critic because I feel like I should be further ahead in life than I am sometimes, especially emotionally, how I deal with stuff. But I just try to let them know, next play mode, man, like something is going to happen. Something is going to knock you off track. But you have to keep going. Like, so that starts with having a goal and then just walking it out. Everything along the way is just noise. Sometimes you have to deal with it. Sometimes you have to ignore it. So just next play mode, man, because life is so short.
Yeah, one final thing for you, Rob. You mentioned, as we got things started here with this interview, as we tape here on Saturday morning, on Halloween, you mentioned that you went to Heroes Camp this morning, to still be close to those guys. You talk about Pat a lot. You talk about Brian Foster a lot here. How often do you connect with those guys, and what's one thing that you're really trying to push with Heroes Camp?
I still talk to Pat all the time because, like I said, a lot of us up there, we're searching for a father figure, and that's what Pat has been to our community in South Bend for 30 years, like without a doubt. Heroes Camp is one of those places where you got to actually see it to know what it's about. It sounds like it's just another place, like good gym with good people, this and that. But no, it's really, it was really life-changing for me and the people that I met up there. We still talk, even though a lot of us don't meet up at Heroes Camp. There's like lifelong brotherhood connections between me and some of the people from there. So I actually just stopped by there one night. I was out in the area, and Brian Foster was up there, like torching the young kids. So, man, Heroes Camp, anybody who's been through it, you can never, just not be a part of it. In some way, you are thinking about it because of the love that Pat has shown. What he's done in our community is really, really remarkable, and it was very necessary. So I think the best part about it is, if you really got to know Pat, he instilled some stuff into you that you take with you and able to affect other people's lives in a positive way with you. So definitely appreciate that, especially prayer. That's been the biggest help for me. Mainly going to prayer.
All right, Rob, we have spent close to an hour and 40 minutes here, and man, what a story! And like I said from the beginning, this is something, your story, your path to Concord, how many times that you could have just easily given up on basketball and trying to get a college education. You have persevered, and man, what an awesome story, and we see now that you're getting to be influential in the lives of young people. What an awesome story, man.
Appreciate it, man. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, once again, Rob Reed, the 2016 Mountain East Conference Men's Basketball Tournament MVP, 2016 All-MEC First Team, and 2016 Consensus All-Region selection for the Mountain Lion basketball program. Helped put the Mountain Lions back on the map after a couple of lean years there at the beginning of the 2010 decade. Joining us here on the Athletic Alumni at Work series at Concord University.